Life around the sugar factory, a 21-year-old's first days at Mwamba Sugar Company. On a Thursday morning in March 1995, the air in Mwanyange was already thick with the promise of a sweltering day. Grace Achieng stepped onto the dusty road, the fine red earth coating her sensible black shoes. At 21, her entire life was condensed into a small, worn suitcase clutched in her hand and a feeling in her chest that was a fragile mixture of terror and resolve. She had little more than hope, and no one to guide her. Her parents had passed years ago, and the well-meaning but poor relatives in the village could offer her nothing but blessings. This journey was one she had to make alone. Her destination, Kilimochi, 21 kilometers away, a name she had only heard in whispers. A place that existed more as a concept than a reality. It was home to Mwamba Sugar Company, and for Grace Achieng, it was the start of a life she had never imagined. A life that shimmered with the possibility of a salary, of independence, of a future. For her, each day would be a test of endurance, courage, and survival, a gauntlet thrown down by the vast, unfamiliar landscape of the sugar belt. Every morning, Grace Achieng walked the kilometer from their home to the main road to catch one of the big Matatus, known locally as ganyas. These were the lifeblood of the region, brightly painted, overcrowded minibuses that careened down the roads with a reckless confidence. The ride to Kilimochi would take her past endless rows of sugarcane, a dense green sea that stretched to the horizon. The stalks, taller than a man, waved gently in the morning breeze, creating a soft, rustling sound like a constant whisper. The plantation smelled of earth and sugar, a scent that was both fertile and sweet, a perfume that would forever mark her memory of the factory, becoming the very smell of her new beginning. Sometimes the road was quiet, almost lonely, with only the occasional bicycle or farmer walking with a machete slung over his shoulder. On those days, Grace Achieng would press her forehead against the cool glass of the Matatu window, watching the world fly by in a green and brown blur. Sometimes it was crowded, chaotic, filled with the voices of farmers and traders heading to Kilimochi town, their baskets overflowing with mangoes, tomatoes, and fresh fish from the nearby lake. The air would be thick with the smell of ripe fruit and diesel fumes, and the Matatu would blare Lingala music from a crackling speaker. Yet for Grace Achieng, it didn't matter. The 21 kilometers were just the beginning of a far longer journey, an internal one from the girl she was to the woman she was determined to become. Kilimochi was nothing like Mwanyange. It was a town that hummed with a constant industrial energy, its streets lined with small shops selling everything from radio batteries to brightly colored fabric, and market stalls where women sat under frayed umbrellas, frying mandazi and selling avocado/mango juice. At its center loomed Mwamba Sugar Company, a sprawling complex of concrete buildings and tall metal silos, its gates tall, industrial, and imposing. A constant plume of white steam rose from its chimneys, merging with the brilliant blue sky. Grace Achieng paused for a moment, her heart racing. The sheer scale of it was overwhelming, a mechanical beast that both promised sustenance and threatened to swallow her whole. Her first stop was her Aunt Roseline's home, a small, modest house near the edge of town, a short walk from the factory's perpetual hum. Here, Grace Achieng would sometimes find shelter, a warm meal of ugali and sukuma wiki, and the brief comfort of family. Aunt Rosaline, a woman with tired but kind eyes, would cluck over her, asking about her day. "This factory work is not for the faint-hearted, my child," she would say, her voice a low rumble. But the comfort was temporary. The nights in the small, unfamiliar room remained long and uncertain, filled with the strange sounds of the town and the weight of her solitude. That day, Grace Achieng reported as a computer shift leader in the factory's computer department. The title sounded grand, but the reality was daunting. She had been trained only briefly on the systems in a Nairobi classroom and had never seen the complex machinery in motion, never felt the deep, guttural vibration of the processing plant. The office, a small room with flickering fluorescent lights, smelled of old paper, the warm plastic of electronics, and the faint, cloying sweetness of sugar that drifted in from the nearby processing lines. Her first shift was a blur of acronyms, blinking cursors on dark screens, and the intimidating presence of older, more experienced colleagues who spoke in a language she was still struggling to learn. She worked in shifts of 8 hours, some starting before dawn and some ending as late as 10 p.m. After the late shift, she would wait for the Matatu back to Mwanyange, often in near darkness. The road back was a different world. The friendly, waving sugarcane became a dark, impenetrable wall on either side, and the night was filled with the chirping of crickets and the occasional unsettling call of a night bird. Some nights, the last Matatu was long gone, and she had to wait for a vehicle from Nairobi, a tired supply truck or a company car, to take her to her aunt's lodge. Sometimes she arrived late, tired and hungry, with only the faint glow of lamps in Kilimochi to guide her. At 21, commuting alone through these roads was risky. Stories of muggings and worse were common, but it was the reality of her first job, and she endured it without complaint, her jaw set, her focus fixed on the reason she was there. The first fortnight passed slowly, a grueling marathon of hard work, long hours, and endless roads. She rationed her small stash of food, her stomach often a hollow ache. She waited for her pay advance, the first tangible reward for her efforts. When the advance finally arrived, a crisp envelope handed to her by a stern-faced clerk. It was more than money. It was proof. It was the physical evidence that she could survive here, that she could navigate this world of machines, night shifts, and dusty roads. She bought a proper meal that night, savoring every bite, and sent a small portion home, a silent message of triumph. This is the story of Grace Achieng, her first days in a world that tested her at every turn. It is one of many stories of courage, work, and resilience around Kenya's sugar factories. Stories of young people like Grace Achieng who step onto dusty roads with nothing but hope, and in doing so, keep the sugar belt and the heart of the nation alive. Thank you for being part of life around the sugar factory. This series is more than just stories. It is a tribute to women like Grace Achieng, whose strength carried her through the weight of motherhood, the sting of judgment, and the silence that often surrounded her. While industries pressed forward, she and countless others labored quietly, holding families and communities together in ways that history rarely records. By watching, you help honor their resilience and remind the world that behind every machine, every field, and every factory, there are human lives, especially women, whose courage deserves to be seen and remembered. Subscribe to continue walking with us on this journey as we uncover more voices, more truths, and more stories that shape the fabric of our communities.
If they don't match the payment stall, fortnight comes, but truth is called. Hard work is honest, the earth provides, but simple numbers where honesty hides. Awaiting fairness, a simple plea for every harvest for you and me. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Weighbridge ticket first. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Weighbridge ticket first. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Weighbridge ticket first. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Weighbridge ticket first.